There is only one perfect solution, but there are clues that will try to trick our team.
Hello there, everyone. My name is Crazy Caleb, and that little funky beat that you heard is Floor Lights. So this is a boss module with a 10x10 platform, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be determining what each of these different colors mean, and we're going to be submitting a series of different tiles at the end based off of their status being on or off. So let's actually get into this module. So before the module generates a pattern at the start of the BOM, the initial toggle of all tiles is off. So it's automatically just off the way it is. And I'm going to be using the interactive in this case to explain what I mean. So all of these count as off, black spaces count as off, white count as on, similar to Game of Life. This is actually the exact same thing for Game of Life, except the table is extended instead of just being 6 rows to 10. So let's move on. After a stage occurs, the stage number is shown in binary on the little bit right down here. The platform will show 5 lit tiles with different colors. There will be exactly 5 for each stage, and each of these guys will have a different effect: red, green, and blue, and then yellow. And so the platform has already generated the pattern internally, but the display will take about 2 seconds to show the pattern generated. That little beat that you heard at the beginning of the BOM is the 2 seconds to show the pattern being generated. Is that little beat. So now, based on the color tile shown, based on the color of the shown on the tile, we're going to toggle the state of the lit tile. That will always be toggling the lit tile present, and a series of adjacent tiles in this case. So how exactly does this work? So for red's rule, the tile that is lit is toggled, and the tiles that are orthogonally adjacent to it are toggled on to off and off to on, etc., etc. And this effect does not loop around. So this little 10x10 table, for any rule, it will state this effect does not loop. That means you cannot simply wrap around. Say, for example, you were at Juliet 2, and you happen to have a red. The orthogonally adjacent ones would be up, left, and down, and right. It simply does not loop back around to Alpha 2 over here. That's not the way that this works. It never does that for this module, and if you happen to have, for example, the green rule is the tile that is lit and the tiles that are diagonally adjacent. If you happen to be in a corner, it will only tile the one diagonally adjacent to it, and the tile itself. So yes, the red rule is going to be orthogonally adjacent, diagonally adjacent for green, and then for the blue is probably the trickiest of them all, is every single adjacent tile. For example, if blue is going to be right here, it will be itself right here in Charlie 5, and then we would simply toggle all of the tiles around it as well, simply creating a little 3x3. And that's what the toggling refers to these guys. Red, orthogonally, green, diagonally, and blue, everything around it. And yellow will actually be what we submit into the module. The yellow tile will only show up after all modules have been solved, and this tile will indicate that the toggle state is on for the tile. And after solving all not ignored modules, which in this case refers to bosses or some either pseudo-needies or time-related modules, the platform will toggle all off, which in this case is the black state or gray state, and the module will now accept input from the diffuser. And we're going to toggle the tiles on and off so that it will match the last toggle state. And we're going to press show time, here, show time, to submit the answer. So let's take a look here. So for our first bit of this module, let's take a look at what we have here. This does technically count as stage 1, and it's not just an initial stage or anything that you can simply ignore. Every single stage counts, and this starts with stage 1. Now this little LED at the bottom right represents the display in binary, and I'll explain what that means later on. So taking a look here, all of these guys happen to be red, and the rules are listed in the interactive manual. So for red, we're going to toggle the tile that is lit, and all of the orthogonally adjacent cells to it. So starting at delta 2, and it is important to note that they must all be done in reading order. Regardless of whatever happens, every single tile must be done in reading order. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, because sometimes the states that are toggled can be actually affected by other tiles. So let's make sure we pay attention to that. So we're going to start with delta 2 being the first in reading order. So we're going to toggle this LED and all of the tiles that are orthogonally adjacent to it. So in this case, that refers to up, left, right, and down. Next up, the next one that's in reading order is going to be corresponding to Foxtrot 3. And it is a little bit weird to, it is a little bit tricky to read the actual tiles on the module itself, but with enough practice, you'll be able to figure out it. Or simply just do A, B, C, D, E, F, and then Foxtrot 3. So now for red, orthogonally adjacent, we're going to do up, right, down, and left. So far, none of them actually have been interacting with each other. None of the tiles that we have adjacent are toggling each other on or off. Next up in reading order is not going to be Hotel 4. It's actually going to be Bravo 4. So we're going to do Bravo 4, toggling that tile, and then all of the ones orthogonally adjacent to it. Then for next one is going to be Hotel 4. Hotel 4 is going to be toggled, then all of the ones adjacent to it, orthogonally adjacent specifically. And then lastly, Golf 6 is going to be our last one here. We're going to toggle that guy and all of these ones orthogonally adjacent. And let's solve the module. So taking a look, remember that it has a 2-second it takes about 2 seconds to show the next pattern. So let's take a look here. So let's kill Hush. And see, it's doing that little beat, and just like that, a new stage has been presented to us. So our first one in reading order actually corresponds to Alpha 1. And now we're taking a look at the blue rule. So the blue rule is the tile that is lit, and all the tiles that are adjacent to it are toggled. So since it is in a corner, and remember, it does not loop, the effect does not loop. So we're going to toggle Alpha 1, being the tile that it is right now, the tile that is lit. And we're going to toggle the ones that are all adjacent to it. So that includes orthogonal and diagonal, essentially. So we're going to then toggle Bravo 1, Bravo 2, and Alpha 2. And that is going to be the entire module, the entire move for that. Next up in reading order is Bravo 1. This is why I did Alpha 1 first, because we need to do it in reading order. We're going to toggle Bravo 1. And then we're going to do the diagonally adjacent to it are going to be toggled as well. So from Bravo 1, the diagonally adjacent correspond to Alpha 2 and Charlie 2, and those will be toggled as well. And now we're starting to see where things start to get a little bit curious. Stuff that we would normally turn on is now starting to turn off because of the way that toggling works, toggling on and off. Next up in reading order is going to be Bravo 3, and it's a green, so we're going to toggle all the diagonally adjacent to it as well as the tile itself. I'm just going to refer to diagonally adjacent by itself because it's clear that we need to toggle each tile that we get because that's just the way that the module works. So that's what I'm going to refer to now. So we're going to toggle Bravo 3 and everything diagonal to it. Okay. Next up, we're going to go over to this is Golf 3. Right here, and we're going to toggle everything around it, everything that's adjacent to it. So we're going to toggle Golf 3, then everything around it, losing quite a few of these blocks here, and then finally Juliet 3 itself and everything around it for it being a blue. All right, and that's the stage that we're going to be working with here. And just like I said before, this little stage counter is in binary. It's a little bit weird for the stage counter, but it was at the bottom rightmost before, which in this case corresponds to 1. Then now it's gone up a bit, which corresponds to 2. So let's continue on. So we have Klaus lead doing its little beat. Next up, we're going to take a look at Alpha 2. Alpha 2 is diagonally adjacent, so we're going to toggle you, and then Bravo 1, Bravo 3. Next up, we have quite a few actually right next to each other. So this is Foxtrot 2. Foxtrot 2 is a blue, so everything that is adjacent to it is toggled. Next up is Golf 2. Golf 2 is everything adjacent to it because it's blue. So toggling itself and everything around it. And finally, Green. Green is all the stuff that's diagonally adjacent to it. So we're going to toggle Hotel 2, then Golf 1, India 1, India 3, and Golf 3. From Hotel 2. And lastly, red. Red is simply orthogonally adjacent from Alpha 3. So we're going to toggle Alpha 3, then Alpha 2, then Bravo 3, and then Alpha 4. Remembering that they do not loop around the table. So just as a reminder. Let's take a look at the next stage. Okay, we have, I believe this is Sophia Washington, should be. Yep. Always get the sisters and stuff. Next things next. We have Golf. This is Golf 1, yes. We have Golf 1, and the way that I know that is it's 3 away from the. It's got a gap of 3 between the top right corner and Golf 1. So let's take a look here, or it's a distance of 3 rather, and a gap of 2. So we have blue at Golf 1, so we're going to toggle itself and everything that's adjacent to it, both diagonally and orthogonally. And Alpha 2 is simply just orthogonally adjacent, so we're going to toggle Alpha 2, then Alpha 1, then Bravo 2, then Bravo 3. Then next up we have Foxtrot 3. Foxtrot 3 right here. It's blue, so we're going to toggle all the tiles that are adjacent to it, like so, including itself. Then next up we have that green down in Juliet. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Juliet 6. So we're going to toggle U and India 5 and India 7 because those are the two diagonally adjacent that don't loop around in the table. And lastly, alpha 8. Alpha 8 is going to be toggling everything orthogonally adjacent. So it'll be that little group right there. All right, moving on. KTANE. Let's continue on. So next up we have Bravo 2. Bravo 2 being blue. Blue is going to be all of the stuff adjacent to it, diagonal and orthogonal. All right. And we have a whole bunch of reds. Nice. We have orthogonally adjacent stuff now. So we're going to start with Bravo 5. Bravo 5 is orthogonally adjacent. So all of you. Then next up is Alpha 6. Yep. Next up is Alpha 6. So we have itself, up, right, and down in this case. Then we have Charlie 8, and then Delta 8. So Charlie 8, remember reading order. So Charlie 8, then up, left, right, down. Then Delta 8, itself, up, left, right, down. And just like that is stage complete. Next up, let's get back. All right, starting at Alpha 1, we have blue present. So we're going to toggle itself and everything that's around it. Next up, we have Hotel 1. So we have itself and everything that's around it. Then we have not Hotel 1, Gulf 3. Gulf 3 is diagonal, so everything in itself and diagonal. The rules are pretty easy to memorize. It's just obviously keeping track of everything is very difficult. Next up, we have Gulf 4. So Gulf 4 is going to be everything around it. All right, and finally, Juliet 6. Juliet 6 for red, orthogonally adjacent, and just like that, that's the stage complete. Next up, this is Agent Davenport. Generating a new stage. Red is orthogonally adjacent at Alpha 1, so Alpha 1, then Bravo 1, then Alpha 2. And then next up we have green at Echo 3. Echo 3 is diagonally adjacent. So we're going to toggle Echo 3, then Delta 2, Foxtrot 2, Foxtrot 4, and Delta 4. Next up we have this green right here at Hotel 5. Hotel 5. We're going to toggle that itself, and then all the diagonals around it. Then next up we have red at it's 6. I know it's row 6. It's Echo 6. Echo 6. It's orthogonally adjacent itself and orthogonally adjacent cells. Then next up we have, for our last one, we have Hotel 7, I believe. Hotel 7, that is. Yes, it's 2 from the rightmost. So Hotel 7, orthogonally adjacent, starting with you, and all 3 of you guys. All right, we're almost to the end of the bomb. Let's continue on. You are Roman Capcom. Alrighty, next up, and now this is at bit 4, the 4th bit in binary, so that means we're at stage, should be stage 8, I believe, actually. Yeah, because we've done 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is stage 8, yep. And just remember that's how binary works. It's a little bit weird. It starts at the bottom and then it goes up, so just make sure you note that, down. So taking a look here, so green at Hotel 2. Hotel 2 is going to be itself and diagonal, as such. Next up, we have India 3. That's going to be green, that's itself and diagonal. Then next up is going to be Juliet 3. Juliet 3 is itself and orthogonally adjacent. No looping around. Next up is going to be Alpha 5. Alpha 5 is it's itself and all of the adjacent tiles around it. So Alpha 5 itself, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just like that, it's done. And then lastly, green at Bravo 5. So itself and all of the diagonally adjacent ones. And as you can see, this is exactly what I mean by this module can be very complicated and take a long time to do, but it's still not too bad. The concept of it is easy. Keeping track of everything is very difficult, and it's very likely that you'll make a mistake somewhere along the way. But with enough practice, you should be able to be fine. Alright, taking a look at the next one. The first one in reading order is going to be at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Gulf 3. Gulf 3 is going to be green, so we're going to toggle itself and the diagonals around it. Next up is going to be Alpha 4. Alpha 4 is blue, so everything around it and itself. All right. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at Echo 4. Echo 4, yes, Echo 4. It's orthogonally adjacent and itself. All right. Next up, we have, this is Hotel 7 or Hotel 6? Hotel 6, yep. Hotel 6, Golf 7. Hotel 6 for the first one is green. And then Golf 7, which happens to be a diagonal, ironically enough, to Hotel 6. So we're going to toggle Golf 7 and everything diagonal to it. And that's the stage. Next up, this will be the last stage, and then we will enter into submission phase. Sure to Wednesday. Alrighty. For this last stage, we have blue at Golf 1. Blue at Golf 1, remember, blue is all of the stuff that's around it and itself, like so. Next up, red at India 2. Red is orthogonally adjacent and itself. Juliet 2, orthogonally adjacent in itself. All right. And then next up, we have Charlie 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Yep. So Charlie 6 is red, orthogonally adjacent in itself. And then lastly, Alpha 7, orthogonally adjacent in itself, being red. All right. And now let's solve this last module. Get rid of Sierra Knox. And now the module turns black. It turns all into the unlit status. And now what we're going to do is we're going to toggle each of these guys yellow for ones that are lit and for the stuff that's unlit. So let's start doing that. And then the way that I normally would read this out would be sort of Game of Life style. For those of you who aren't familiar with Game of Life, what you essentially do is you read the positions of each row. So this would be 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10. 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10. And just like that, that's how it would work. Then moving on row by row, taking it slow because this module is a 10 by 10, a lot larger than Game of Life. Next up, row 2 is going to be 1, 5, 7, 8, 10. Next up, row 3 is going to be 3, 4, 5, 10. And then next up, 4 is going to be 3, 7, 9, 10. 7, 9, 10. Then lastly, and then next up, row 5 is, why do I keep saying lastly for some reason? Next up, row 5 is going to be 2, 6, 7, 8, 10. 6, 7, 8, 10. Okay. Then next up, row 6 is going to be 5, 6. Next up, row 7 is going to be 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. Then row 8 is going to be 5, 6. Then row 9 is going to be 1, 3, 4. Row 10 will be nothing. And just make sure column totals 4, 2, 4, 4, 6, 3, 4, 3, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. So we have everything present in the module. And now what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to turn off my voice because of the fact that this has probably one of the best solve animations ever. If you happen to, I would like to say before we go move on, if you happen to strike during this submission part of it, you can actually hold the button for showtime for at least 2 seconds, and you can change this button to rewind. And this will essentially go into a stage recovery. And what you can do is releasing the button will change after changing to rewind will return you back to the first stage of the module, and you can keep pressing rewind to move forward to another stage. However, you cannot go back to the previous stages if you press rewind. If you press the rewind button, after reaching the last stage, pressing the rewind button will return you to the submission stage. You can only do this once per strike. So it's similar to how FE sort of has the stage recovery, where you can only take a look at one digit per position. However, in this case, you can take a look at all of the stages. Just be careful with that, being that you can only do this once per strike, and just be careful and make sure that the expert has all of the stages present and all of the work done along with it. So I'm going to turn my voice off. We're going to hit showtime, submit the module, and if it's correct, you'll see exactly what I mean by this. By one of the best solve animations in my opinion ever. I'll turn our voice. And now you understand what I mean by that. It's a very fun module, in my opinion. It just takes it's a little bit long, and how the 10 by 10 grid takes, but it has one of probably the best solve animations in the game, and one of the best solve sounds as well. So that's all I've got for you guys today. That was Floor Lights. As always, stay crazy, stay cool, stay bopping on the dance floor, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.